Now, sticking with the president, his personal lawyer is fighting back against that disputed BuzzFeed News report. The latest from Rudy Giuliani is that the president and his former personal attorney and fixer, Michael Cohen, may have discussed his testimony before Congress ahead of time. Ben?
Yeah, John, that's right. But Giuliani adds that the president did not instruct Cohen to lie. Now, that contradicts the BuzzFeed report, which claims the president directed Cohen to not tell the truth about negotiations to build a Trump Tower in Moscow.
It's not possible.
The president's lawyer insists his client never ordered Cohen to lie to Congress. A disputed report by BuzzFeed News claims then-candidate Trump supported a plan to visit Russia during the presidential campaign in order to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin to negotiate a project. Cohen told Congress in 2017 negotiations over Trump Tower Moscow stopped in January 2016 before the primaries, but later admitted that was a lie. As part of his guilty plea, Cohen said those negotiations continued as late as June 2016 when Trump was the clear GOP nominee. BuzzFeed claims Mueller's team had proof that President Trump told Cohen to lie about it to lawmakers.
We describe our sources here as federal law enforcement officials involved in the investigation of the matter of the Trump Tower Moscow. And we're not playing games with that characterization. These are strong sources close to the investigation.
In a rare move, the special counsel's office publicly denied that report, stating BuzzFeed's description of specific statements to the special counsel's office and characterization of documents and testimony obtained by this office regarding Michael Cohen's congressional testimony are not accurate. Regardless, Democrats still plan to question Cohen about it next month.
If anyone was instructing, whether it was the president or other people affiliated with the White House or the Trump organization, encouraging a witness to lie, we need to know about it.
And again today, BuzzFeed's editor-in-chief Ben Smith doubled down that their report is in fact accurate, despite pushbacks from the special counsel's office. Jenna?
All right, thank you, Ben. Well, CBN News chief political analyst David Brody joins us now for more. David, the shutdown now in its 5th week. Is this becoming the new normal?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the fact that we're into day 31, I expect it to go into day 41, possibly 51 and longer. I mean, look, it's unprecedented where we are here. And it's interesting because the president gave out this proposal, did this proposal over the weekend. And if you think about it, it had a real compassionate streak to it. Hundreds of millions of dollars in humanitarian aid, temporary protection for Dreamers, temporary protection for TPS folks. And the Democrats, it's radio silence, nothing whatsoever. So at some point you wonder, what's the counteroffer? And they still haven't come up with one.
Well, you just mentioned the president's proposal. Over the weekend, Vice President Pence was pressed on why not just reopen the government first and then negotiate border fundings for the wall. All while Democrats say that the president is holding federal workers hostage. So we're no closer than we were 5 weeks ago when this all began, it seems.
Well, that's right, because Democrats, John, are on their sticking point of we are not going to negotiate until the government is open. And Donald Trump is saying, and I can tell you for sure, some White House aides are telling me, why in the world would he want to reopen the government and then start negotiating with Democrats when Nancy Pelosi said herself that she wouldn't go ahead and give them any sort of funding for the wall, even if they open up the government?
But at some point, is there some pressure for Democrats to come to the negotiating table and to cede some leverage?
There's no doubt about that. And that's why I thought over the weekend that proposal by the president was really, really important for this White House to say, look, I'm going to lead with this, and it puts the onus on the Democrats to come up with something.
No.
Sure.
David, are you seeing any give from the Democrats?
Not really. I mean, they're sticking, and Democrats do this well. Republicans are not good at this, but Democrats stick together, and they really have stuck together pretty well. I will say this. Joe Manchin today, Senator Joe Manchin said, I want to look at the proposal. I want to take a look. He didn't rule it out entirely, but that's just one senator. I mean, what the White House is trying to do here is that they want to pass it through the Senate, so they need 60 votes, right? So they have 53 Republicans. They need 7 Democrat senators. Good luck trying to get 7 Democrat senators, but they're hoping to get Manchin, maybe Chris Coons, and a couple others. Having said that, a big-time long shot.
David, moving gears or shifting gears here a little bit, BuzzFeed, the report that they put out last week, all the cable networks gave heavy coverage to the BuzzFeed report, also with the caveat saying that they hadn't independently confirmed the report. Then the special counsel comes out with this uncharacteristic rebuttal, essentially, to the report, and BuzzFeed is now still standing by its report, saying 100% it stands by its reporting. What do you make of all this?
Well, yeah, it's the double down, as Ben was just saying. Look, this is what I think it is. I've been in Washington for a little while. I won't give you how many years I've been in Washington. You can Google it. But here's the bottom line, and I'm just going to say this straight up, okay? Ben Smith is with BuzzFeed. He is in the, I'm going to say it, he's in somewhat of that chummy Washington, D.C., New York, Acela corridor bubble with ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN. They all kind of follow each other. So CNN and others took this story, everybody took this story because it was BuzzFeed reporting it. Here's the thing. Let's reverse it for a moment. Let's say this was President Barack Obama and Breitbart had a story that was something like a bombshell like this. Do you think CNN and others would be reporting Breitbart? No, of course they wouldn't, on Barack Obama. But the fact that the mainstream media went with BuzzFeed story, they're a chummy club, and I think that's what happened here. They all got kind of sucked up into the oxygen of the moment, and now they have somewhat of a black eye because of it.
Yeah, David, the special counsel normally wouldn't comment on this, but here they kind of had their hands tied. They kind of had to get out in front of this and say something. Yeah,
it was a credibility issue, I think, for Robert Mueller. I mean, I think they realized that this was taking on a life of its own, and they had to get out, in essence, in front of it or stop it. You'll never see the special counsel's office do this, but in this case, they had to. Why? Because, look, this was an obstruction of justice, story about obstruction of justice, and this would have been, as I said on Friday, game, set, match for the president. So they had to say something before it got even more out of control.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, guys.
Well, when we come back, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but sometimes a viral video goes viral for all the wrong reasons. Stick around for the real story behind what looks like a standoff between a Catholic high school teen and a Native American veteran.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain or knee pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace or knee brace covered by Medicare at little to absolutely no cost to you.
Call 800-715-3367 right now to see if you qualify.
These professional-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, rheumatoid and osteoarthritis, spinal disorders, stenosis, and other painful back problems. Our medical-grade durable knee braces are designed for those with osteoarthritis and general knee pain and weakness. Our accredited staff will handle all of the Medicare paperwork, and best of all, your braces shipped directly to your home for free. Will you qualify for a Medicare-covered back brace or knee brace? There's only one way to find out.
Call the Back and Knee Brace Center at 800-715-3367. That's 800-715-3367.
Are you or a loved one between the ages of 50 to 80 years old? If you are younger than 80 years old, do you receive Social Security, disability, or Medicare? If you answered yes, you may qualify for $30,000 in funeral insurance for only pennies a day. The average funeral costs around $11,000, and Social Security only pays $255, leaving your loved ones to pay the balance. Call now to see if you qualify for $30,000 in funeral expense coverage from Senior Legacy Life. Your rate will never increase, your benefits will never decrease, and there is no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing disease or illness. Don't be a financial burden to your family. Lock in your rate by completing an application over the phone right now. Will you qualify for funeral insurance up to $30,000 for only pennies a day? Find out for free by calling Senior Legacy Life.
Call 1-800-915-6014. That's 1-800-915-6014. 1-800-915-6014.
A student accused of racism and worse in an alleged confrontation with a Native American at Friday's March for Life says he did nothing wrong. Nick Sandman was among a group of students attending the march. Native American Nathan Phillips was also there for an Indigenous Peoples March. The students were seen chanting and laughing as Phillips drummed. The video was shared on social media and went viral, and the students were condemned for their actions. But Sandman, who was shown standing in front of Mr. Phillips smiling, says he was only trying to calm things down in the midst of all the chaos. Both Sandman and Phillips say they were trying to diffuse the tension between their groups and a third party. That group, affiliated with the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, was caught on camera beforehand.
Build a wall in front of Europe.
That's right.
You crackers are crazy.
That's right. Crickets.
A bunch of future school shooters.
That's right. Look at that mob of these dirty animals. They gone.
That's right. A bunch of Donald Trump incest children.
And the Catholic school students responded to the Black Hebrew Israelites group by starting a chant. All this before the indigenous peoples group, led by Phillips, came onto the scene. The Native Americans acting as a wedge between the students and the instigators. Sandman responded to all of his critics on social media, writing, quote, "I am being called every name in the book, including a racist, and I will not stand for this mob-like character assassination of my family's name."
Well, here with us now to help us break down some of what we've been seeing is Will Riccadella. He's the social media director and reporter for the Washington Examiner. Will, thanks for braving the cold to be here with us today.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Will, what happened here? This seems to be more than just social media bias.
No, this is a story that the media saw as an opportunity. They clearly didn't have all the facts, as we know. Some conservatives didn't have all the facts. They used it as an opportunity to come out to show how anti-racist they are, to condemn the student. Most of the mainstream media used this to they manufactured the rest of the facts that they didn't have. They filled in the blanks because they wanted to perpetuate a narrative and a myth. They wanted to stereotype these kids. It was perfect. They're young white males. They have a MAGA hat on, and this fit right in.
Well, give us some insight here. You know, on Friday, this video, it went viral. All of the, cable outlets, they ran with it. But in their defense, if news programs didn't go with this story, wouldn't it have really, spread anyway on Twitter, on Instagram, all of these different
Certainly,
places?
but news outlets can hedge. They can say, we don't know the facts. This is the part of the video that we do have. We're uncertain of the circumstances. They made claims. They put in their headlines claims that this student was racist, that he's a bigot, and he was a Trump supporter. They literally filled in the blanks. This is not journalism 101. This is manufacturing a story.
Well, so there seems to be a culture of immediacy in today's competitive media landscape. And this case is probably the perfect example of pushing things out without knowing the whole story. So there was the third party, as Jenna just described in her previous read, and we now know about it as they were the ones who were instigating. But that didn't come into light until later. So what could journalists have done differently in this case?
Now, I'm a social media director. I have been for a few years now, and I'm all about immediacy. I'm on social media. This wasn't about immediacy. This was about a narrative. This fit the narrative. That immediacy, that's nonsense. That fit their narrative. They wanted to get it out there. It was perfect. It was a time during the shutdown. This was what their readers enjoy. This is what their readers want to click on. That's why they did it. Plenty of times we held on a story because we didn't have enough sourcing. We didn't have our facts straight. It happens all the time in journalism. So the idea that this was a thing about being immediate is utter nonsense.
Will Riccadella with the Washington Examiner, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Well, we here at CBN are privileged to work with a team of talented journalists who are both in front of and behind the camera. Well, on today's episode of the Rundown podcast, we introduce you to Washington Bureau's new assignment editor, Aronica Glover, one of many people responsible for this broadcast. Ironically, she says, radio was my first love, but television happened to me. More about that and how she says God prepared her for her new role at CBN today on the Rundown.
Well, when we come back, an unexpected friendship and partnership leads to two strangers discovering a stunning family connection.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
to make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com to get your copy today.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Welcome back. Well, at a time with racial division on the rise, two ministers from totally different backgrounds say the church is uniquely equipped to lead Americans toward healing. Amber Strong has the story.
The United States of America, the world's great melting pot. Each person arriving to this country with a unique family history of how their ancestors put an imprint on their lives. Yet with all that diversity, we're often more connected than you might imagine. Matthew Lockett is the great-grandchild of farmers and a pro-life advocate.
He would actually make a joke out of it, my dad, and he would say, I guess we're just a bunch of mutts from Kentucky.
Will Ford is the descendant of slaves. He travels the country sharing a message of racial healing.
They didn't think they would see freedom in their time, so they prayed for the freedom of their children and the next generation.
Two men on two very different journeys, but their worlds collided when they attended a prayer meeting together.
And I show up at the Lincoln Memorial because of this dream. I don't know why I'm there. I didn't really even know that much about prayer, but that was the first place that Will and I came together.
They attended a church service later that night. That's where Ford shared the story of his ancestors' prayer kettle, a pot used by slaves to muffle their voices during secret prayer meetings. That led to a deeper conversation, which resulted in a friendship and an unexpected partnership.
We just started running around the country together and doing prayer meetings.
The Lord said this to me. He said, if I heard the silent whispers of slaves underneath kettle pots, how much more so do I hear the silent screams of babies being aborted in this nation?
Over the next decade, they spread a message of life and love. Love for the man next to you regardless of race, and love for the unborn. But the story doesn't end there. Lockett says there was something about that first meeting he just couldn't shake.
He shared the part of the story that shocked me, that this kettle had been handed down to Harriet Lockett.
Years of research led them to a stunning discovery.
My oldest known family member was a man named Isaac Lockett. The only Locketts at that time period in Virginia was Matt's family. And so after doing 4 months of research then and another whole year of research, we've learned through empirical evidence Matt's family is the family that owned my family.
And that revelation led to some difficult soul searching.
Matt's family owned our family, and I had to wrestle with that because we had stories passed down in our family about slaves who were beat to death for simply going fishing without asking. And I really had to forgive from my heart Matt's family for owning my family.
Lockett says it was a learning experience for him too.
There is many times, particularly with white America, there can be an attitude that, you know, when these issues are discussed and the history of slavery, even the pain, the lingering pain of that to this day, there can be a negative attitude that just kind of dismisses it and says, look, you weren't there, I wasn't there, get over it. There's a very real, lingering pain associated with it generationally. And now that pain had a face, and it was the face that I love.
That discovery could have torn them apart and ended their ministry. Instead, it strengthened their resolve.
God is using a united church to heal a divided nation.
Lockett and Ford say every part of their story, even the tough parts, are by design. They say there are no coincidences, even down to the location of that first meeting.
Sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
It was here almost 55 years ago that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Have a Dream speech. Lockett and Ford believe they are living examples of that dream fulfilled. And that allows them to travel the country together, sharing their dream for the church.
I think what God is shouting to America right now is this: what storyline do you want to be a part of? The healing or the hurt? The blessing and the curse?
Two men from two different backgrounds, sharing a surprising connection and pursuing a common mission of unity, life, and healing. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
And that's all the time we have for tonight. Have a great evening.